Hey coaches, thanks again for coaching and volunteering. Kids Incorporated cannot function, cannot have these leagues without you. So we appreciate you so much. If you have any questions after this process starts, please give us a call anytime. So this is the kindergarten through second grade, or for all basketball coaches. Here's the general information. The season's going to begin November 4th, 2022. Season ends December 10th, 2022. Our games will be played on Friday, Saturday, and actually some Mondays this year. Due to referee shortage and stuff like that, we try to get you some referees out there. So Monday seems to be a little better than the Saturdays. We will not have any Sunday games anymore. So those are the days we'll be playing on. Roster maximum, you can have up to 10 kids as your max. Now, obviously, some teams are going to end up with more than that or less. But if you end up with more, you can talk to Kids Inc. If you have another kid you want to add over 10, and we'll get with you. We might have a child that needs a place to play and talk to you, but it's something that we'll discuss with you guys, and we can go over the 10 easily. So just remember that as you approach the 10 kids on your team. We're going to check you out 2 basketballs. Let's make sure we get those back by December 16th. We want to continue passing this equipment out for you to use at your practices and your games. But to continue to do that, we need the items returned at the end of the season. So make sure we have that turned in by December 16th. Okay, you're going to receive a roster once you sign up to coach and all that, get the background check and everything's ready to go. Let's make sure we're communicating with each player's family. I would prefer, or all of us would prefer, you make a phone call as your first contact. It is so much better if you personally talk to someone and you're on the same page, they know where your practice is at, they know who their coach is, who their team is, and it's really a great start to really organized season. Let's be really organized for these parents. If you're having trouble contacting some of them, because if they don't have a voicemail or you can't get hold of them, contact Kids Inc. as soon as possible. We want to get you guys connected. Maybe we can help in that process, because the last thing we want is to be 2 weeks into the practice season or into the season and a parent don't know where they're playing, and then we've had a kid that's missed out. So if you're having trouble getting hold of them, please get hold of us as soon as possible. Remember, all your players, when they're out there with their Kids Inc. shirt, they have to have it tucked in while they're playing. We don't want kids grabbing on them or doing anything that could injure someone. And they have to have the jersey to play in a game. We don't know if this kid is signed up. We don't know if they've got the waiver signed. But the main thing, we want to make sure that they got the shirt that they have coming to them. So make sure that they cannot play in a game unless they have a Kids Inc. jersey that matches your team. No jewelry or hair accessories of any kind. You can have a basic bobby pin or maybe a tight hair tie, to keep some hair back out of your face. But let's not have any big bows or anything like that could catch on another kid or themselves. So let's move into a couple of the differences and rules for each grade. For kindergarten through second grade, these games will be played in our elementary gyms. And let's remember, in those gyms are actually the physical education teacher's classroom. So let's always be respectful, take care of that gym while we're in there. They're pretty small, so there's not a lot of space. So let's just make sure we're taking care of their gym space. The games in kindergarten through second, you're going to have 4 10-minute quarters. In those quarters, our referees are going to break those up into 5 minutes, because your substitution patterns, you can substitute every 5 minutes. And each kid, if you, like I said, if you have 12, 13, 14 kids, it's a little different. But if you have 10 kids or less, each child must play 2 uninterrupted 5-minute quarters. So you're going to have 8 5-minute quarters, and the referees will blow that whistle. The time doesn't stop. He just blows it at a out of bounds or something like that. You got to rush, get your subs in there, and let's get going. The referee's going to be keeping his clock. Be patient with him. I mean, he's trying to referee, or he or she is trying to referee the game. They're also keeping a clock, and they're doing their best. They're out there working hard for us. So let's make sure we keep that in mind all the time. Halftime's going to be 3 minutes. Our goals in the kindergarten through second only going to be 8.5 feet. So if you're practicing somewhere, make sure those goals are lowered. Wherever your practice site is, if those goals aren't lowered, make sure you call me at 806-576-8005, and I'll make sure we get those physical education teachers to get those lowered for our practices for you guys. We're not going to keep any official standings. We don't keep scores. We don't do anything like that. Now, obviously, you guys you'll have people that keep up with some of that. All right, teams in kindergarten through second are required to play man-to-man defense. You have to stay on a man. That doesn't mean that you can take your best ball handler out here, maybe a kid that's a little ahead of the game, and have him over on one side and your whole other team just clear out on the other side. We can't do that. That's going to be illegal offense. We play basketball. You have to stay with your man. And if you don't stay with your man, we could give you a technical. We're going to try to stay away from that because we're trying to teach the kids, but let's make sure we're teaching them it's man-to-man defense only in kindergarten through second, and there's no clearing out. The opening tip, the only time we're going to jump ball is the opening tip. After that, it'd be a possession arrow for possession. So just keep that in mind. If a technical foul, now hopefully we don't get into this with kindergarten through second grade, but if a technical foul is against a player, it's going to be a personal foul also, so it'll count on his total. And so if he gets 2 of those, he will be out of that game plus suspended the next 2 games. So let's teach those kiddos not to have those out there, and make sure that we're handling that with the kids. If there's a technical foul against a non-player, a parent, a coach, the second one will result in a 2-game suspension for either parent or coach. If an assistant coach gets a technical, that assistant coach will be asked to leave the bench immediately after 1 technical, and that technical will go on to the head coach. I know we don't need to go into all this, but I'm hoping that you guys will help me with that. And let's remember this is kindergarten through second, and take care of business with that. Now we will have free throws. The free throws in this kindergarten through second will be 24 inches from the free throw line, which is basically 2 tiles in those elementary gyms. So we're not going to sit there and measure exactly 20. Just have them in that area about 2 tiles in front of the free throw line to shoot their free throws. All right, here's some of the rules that are a little different from second grade, but for 3rd and 8th grade, here's the rules. We're going to have 2 16-minute halves with a running clock. All players must play at least 16 minutes. Once again, I know there's some tough substitution patterns if you have 12, 13, 14 kids, but let's try to get all the kids in there as much as we can. But if you have 10 or less, we definitely got to have 16 minutes per each kid. We're going to need 1 parent that will need to sit at the table from each team to track substitutions, keep score, keep the clock, and the time. So home team will do the clock. Let me rephrase that. Home team will do the score. Visiting team will do the clock. So let's make sure you have a volunteer every game. We cannot start these games without someone running the clocks. Referees can't do that. So we've got to have volunteers. Make sure your parents know going into the season that you're going to need one volunteer every game. Halftime's only going to be 2 minutes. You're going to be allowed 2 30-second timeouts per game. If you don't use one in the first half, you still got 2 in the second half. It's not carrying over. It's just 2 for the whole game. 30-second timeouts. So we're not going to take 2 or 3 minutes on timeouts. It's 2 30-second timeouts. We will not have no overtime. Once again, we don't keep standing, so there will be no overtime. If a game ends in a tie, it's a tie. The goals are 10 feet regulation. We play all the 3rd grade through 8th grade in the middle schools. And the lane violation is 3 seconds, just like in any basketball. If you are leading, here's a very important note. So last year in 3rd grade, we made 3rd grade play man-to-man. This year we have changed 3rd grade to go along with 3rd through 8th. You can play any defense now. You can press. We felt like going into the middle schools, they should have the same rules as 4th to get them prepared for moving on, because they're both in the same gyms, the big gyms, and to teach those kids another level of basketball. So 3rd grade, now if you get ahead by 20 points or more in any grade, 3rd through 8th, you have to pull off the press. We're going to pull off the press if it's 20 points or more. So let's just remember that. And then so you can play man-to-man or you can play zone, whichever one you want. There's not going to be any confusion anymore on covering your guy or whatever. It's all straight basketball. The opening tip will be the only jump ball. After that, it's possession arrow. If your player commits a foul, tell them to turn around, show their scorekeeper, and let's make sure that we're keeping those, helping the scorekeeper out with the fouls. Technical fouls. Technical fouls against a player will add on to their personal foul. If a player gets 2 technicals in one game, they will be out for the next 2 games, no questions asked. 2 technicals, that player will be out for 2 games. If a non-player gets a technical, two technicals, same thing goes for them. A coach, a parent. You get technical fouls as not playing, you will be out the next 2 games. That game you'll have to leave plus 2 games. So once again, hopefully we're not going to come up into this. This is 3rd through 8th grade Kids Inc. basketball. Let's make sure that we're keeping a good attitude out there. If you have any questions about calls, about other teams or anything, call me. We can talk about it. But do not yet be getting into altercations with the other team, other parents, anything like that. Referees. Our referees are trying their best out there. We can't do this without referees. So please keep that in mind. That you're going to be out there with no referees if we can't keep it together. So let's make sure we're doing the right thing for the kids and making it a great experience. Coaches, all coaches on all levels, you're responsible for physical and mental well-being of the kids. We got to make this a great experience. This is basketball. This is fun basketball. Let's make it a great experience. You need to keep a good discipline for your team. Make sure they're not out there yelling at refs, yelling at the other players, any inappropriate language, anything like that. From parents, players, anything, that is your responsibility, coach. So help me out on that. I'd really appreciate that. Here's an important one. We run into this in every sport. If you have someone practicing with the kids, sitting on the bench, they have to have a background check. It takes a few minutes. You can get online, do a coach's background, or you can come in the office and fill it out. But under no circumstance can anyone be on the bench or practicing with the kids that does not have a background check. Please help me out on that. If there's someone coaching the team that's not got a background, there's some discipline that we can administer. I hope we don't get into that. Make sure that your coaches have a background. And coaches, once again, I'm going to go back to the referees. They're the final say on the calls. If you have questions about rules and stuff like that, you can call us the next day or whatever. Let's handle it like that. Let's not have any big altercations at the gym. These referees, like I said, we need them. We can't play the games without them. Coaches, don't be roaming the sidelines, going up and down the court. We need to stay in the box. Assistant coaches, you can only have one coach standing up at a time. We're not going to have a bunch of coaches standing up yelling at the refs or yelling at players. One coach up at a time. And when we say that, Coach, it doesn't mean you can't question a call. Obviously, you can ask a question from a ref and ask what he's seen on that or ask what's the rule on that. But we can always answer more questions later. Let's just handle it in a professional manner and a proper way in front of the kids. Make sure we're not messing with the gyms, guys. Make sure you put some information out to the parents. Pick up your trash when you leave. Make sure you get the Gatorade bottles, the water bottles. AISD is a great partner with us, and they allow us these use of all these gyms for practice, for volleyball, for basketball. They're football fields. Let's keep this partnership good and do what's expected of us. Clean up when you leave if you brought trash in. Let's not be going in the bathrooms and breaking. Watch your kids. Make sure they're not running around the building and doing anything. And let's just keep a lot of respect out there for their gyms so we can continue to use those. As far as the doors of the gyms being open, it should be cooling down, so that shouldn't be an issue. But we cannot keep those doors open. The AISD security policy, we cannot keep those open. And it has been hot in those gyms, but it should be cooling down. So hopefully that's not good. So let's use good sportsmanship. Let's have a fun season. Let's make these kids want to continue to play basketball every year, and because it was so fun. Like I said, you have questions about calls, anything with the schedule, anything at all, you call us here at the office. And we can sure help you. We have a great team here that can help you. So have a great season. Appreciate you guys. Can't do it without you. Thank you.